brothers and sisters, I was deeply touched by this particular story, and I do hope each of you will also be touched by the same. A son takes his old father to a restaurant for an evening dinner, and the father, being very old and weak, would drop food on his shirt and trousers while eating. And other diners who were observing all this kept watching in disgust. But his son remains calm and continues to assist his father. And after the dinner, the son takes his old dad to the bathroom, wipes the food particles, removes the stains, combs his hair, and fixes back his spectacles. And as they come out from the bathroom, the people in the restaurant watch them in silence, unable to understand how the young man could contain the public embarrassment. And the son settles the bill, and as they walk out of the restaurant, another elderly gentleman calls out to the son and says to him, "Don't you think you have left something behind?" And the son replied, "No, sir, I haven't." And the old man replies and exclaims, "Yes, you have. You left a lesson for every son and hope for every father." And the boy replies and says to him, "I just switched places with my dad. I was like him as a messy little kid many years ago in the same restaurant." And the restaurant goes into dead silence with obvious lessons learned. And we often receive what we give, especially to the family. The family, my dear brothers and sisters, is a full package that we need to accept with love, faith, and hope. On the average, everything happens in the family, the good, the bad, and the ugly. A family is a place where we share love, laughter, we express joy. A family is also a place we sometimes cry and moan, especially when a loved one gets sick or passes away. Sometimes we also experience anger and hurt in the family. And I've seen people who regret being members of their respective families. But we don't choose our families. It is God's gift to us, and we can only make the best out of it. The perfect family, my dear brothers and sisters, is not the family without problems and difficulties. The ideal family is not the one without need, not the affluent. There is no such thing as a perfect family. But every family could strive to be holy by being attentive to the example of the Holy Family of Nazareth. How do we do this? Look at our first reading and what Sirach has to say. Whoever honors his father atones for sins, and whoever glorifies his mother is like one who lays up treasure. It goes on to say even further, whoever glorifies his father will have a long life, and whoever obeys the Lord will refresh his mother. O son, help your father in his old age, and do not grieve him as long as he lives. Even if he is lacking in understanding, show indulgence. In all your strength, do not despise him. For kindness to a father will not be forgotten. Our second reading from Paul's letter to the Colossians tells us what to put on. We take so much of trouble being dressed. We want to dress well, we want to impress. Beneath this chasuble, I have a new shirt that I'm wearing that somebody gifted me for Christmas. But that's not what is important. Paul tells us something even deeper than that. Put on then, as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness and patience. And above all, he goes on to say a little later, you need to put on love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. We need to ask ourselves, are these some of the virtues that we put on when it comes to living family life? Holiness, my dear brothers and sisters, means walking in God's way, which also implies obedience to God by observing His precepts. Joshua 1:7. Obedience to God starts from the love and respect members of the family have for one another. Obedience may not happen without humility, which entails selfless service to others. In fact, self-centeredness is antithetical to holiness, following the model of Christ. Moving forward in the family cannot happen without love. Love is what we give without expecting a reward. In fact, the reward for love is to love even more and to love without conditions. When we genuinely love, we complement each other instead of competing with each other. Love helps us to let go and to let God. Love helps us to forgive and to give. When we stop loving in the family, then we start losing. Our gospel today, two things happen. Number one, there is the rite of purification of Mary, and two, the presentation of the child Jesus. And we're told in today's gospel what they offer as a ritual. According to what is said in the law, a pair of turtle doves. For those of us who remember, on the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 2 turtle doves. It comes from here. What was the significance of both the rites and offering? But more importantly, the firstborn male was always to be presented as a gift given back to God. And therefore today, on this beautiful feast of the Holy Family of Jesus, Mary and Joseph, it's worth presenting each of our families as a gift to God. But we can sit back and reflect, is it a worthwhile gift giving to God? Or are we running short of something that will truly make it a worthy gift to God? Let's suppose you wanted to build a house. You don't know how much, or you don't know much about building, but you know that you need cement, lumber, nails, plumbing, and electrical materials. So you go to the building supply store and you buy a bunch of those items and take them to your property. You start sewing and nailing boards together, and you start stringing the electrical wires around and putting pipes here and there for plumbing. If your finished product was anything more than a ramshackle lean-to, you would be lucky. What you lack is a plan or a blueprint. If you want to build a house, you need a blueprint which shows the design and necessary materials. No one in their right mind would consider building a house without a blueprint. Everyone would agree that the structure called a house is not nearly as important as the relationships called a home. And yet, while we wouldn't think of building a house without a blueprint, many go about building their homes with no idea of God's plan. It doesn't make sense, and the result all too often is a ramshackle lead-to family life. Psalm 127 and 128 shows us God's blueprint for building a satisfying home. Taken together, my dear brothers and sisters, the two Psalms may be seen as 4 stages in the development of a family. Psalm 127 verse 1 and 2, inception of home, namely foundation. Psalm 127 verses 3 to 5, expansion of home, building on foundation. Psalm 128 verses 1 to 4, child-rearing years, building materials. And Psalm 128 verses 5 to 6, empty nest years, the finished product. Psalm 127 says, "A satisfied home is based on God's blessing." And Psalm 128 goes a step further. God's blessing in the family is based on the fear of the Lord. Thus, a satisfied home is based upon the fear of the Lord. Having a place to go is home. Having someone to love is a family. And having both is a blessing. Hallowed be your family, and may the coming year bring the abundant blessings of Psalm 128 to your home. A very happy feast to all of you on the occasion of a feast of the Holy Family of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph.
God bless, and do have a Jesus-filled day.